Sophia was given citizenship in Saudi Arabia so that her labor could be taxed.
What?
Could be what?
Are you kidding me? Taxed.
I'm not kidding.
They can make money off of it.
Oy vey. Come on. What the? Oh.
That's a really Jewish move right there, man.
Of course. Well, there's money to be made here from the Android. Come on. Let's just do it.
What? Okay. Remember, her work product right now is curiosity. That's the product. And out of curiosity, Singularity.net is sucking in billions of dollars trying to create the mother of all cryptocurrencies, and Saudi Arabia wants a piece of this action.
Okay.
Does this make sense?
It does, actually.
Right.
Because if that's where it's going to go, where it sounds like the whole world currency, the one world order and all the one world currency, sounds like it's going to be crypto because I mean it's all about credits.
That's precisely right. Okay. And this is Elon Musk, Mr. Tesla, Mr. SpaceX, Mr. Billionaire Eccentric Inventor, telling us about the dangers of artificial intelligence.
We are summoning the demon. You know all those stories where there's the guy with the pentagram and the holy water, and he's like, yeah, he's sure he can control the demon. Didn't work out. We could be in, benign, but even the benign situation, if you have if you have ultra-intelligent AI, we would be, so far below them in intelligence that it would be like, a pet, basically.
Cat, that's what I was thinking.
Like a pet.
Cat,
like a cat.
Elon
We'd be like
the
a house cat. Yeah,
right.
we'd be like the house cat.
Right.
We already have, we're already a cyborg. It's just that, you have a digital version of yourself or partial version of yourself online in the form of your emails and your social media and all the things that you do. And you have basically superpowers in that with your computer and your phone and the applications that are there. You have more power than the President of the United States had 20 years ago. That you can answer any question, you can video conference with anyone
right.
anywhere, you can send a message to millions of people instantly. If you think of like you've got your limbic system, your cortex, and then a digital layer, a sort of a third layer above the cortex, that could work well and symbiotically with you. I mean, just as your cortex works symbiotically with your limbic system, your sort of a third digital layer could work symbiotically with the rest.
This is something that's surgically inserted or bred into the species, or what?
Not necessarily. You could go through the veins and arteries because that provides a complete roadway to all of your neurons. Your neurons are very heavy users of energy, so they need high blood flow. So you automatically, with your veins and arteries, have a road network to your neurons.
Okay, that's the end of clip one. So Mr. SpaceX, Mr. Tesla is saying artificial intelligence is like summoning demons. You don't know what you're going to get. And right now you got superpowers. You have access to more information than the President of the United States did 20, 25 years ago, which is true. But in his view, the only way to get around the dangerous demon of AI, which when fully developed will consider us to be its house cat, is to merge with AI. And the one way you could do it is by inserting a chip inside your arteries that would unfurl a neural lace to your mind and provide the brain-machine interface necessary to plug yourself into the matrix. Gentlemen, does not sound attractive to you?
You know, maybe we're not typical Americans because that doesn't sound like something I want.
No kidding, yeah. I mean, it sounds like the Terminator, sounds like the Borg, and sounds like the Matrix all rolled into one right there.
And I think to many Americans that probably sounds like the ideal dream, especially when you have the transhumanists and stuff like that. Yeah. But I think a lot more Americans, specifically Americans, than most people realize would probably be repelled by that because we were all raised with the Terminator, The Matrix, all those, movies where you like the robots take over, but it's funny now that they're pushing so hard for, like Elon Musk especially is pushing so hard for, merging with the machines.
Yeah, you will be assimilated. Resistance is futile.
Yeah, the Borg.
Yeah.
That's another
Right.
good
It's
one.
like,
Right. So back in 1999, when the Matrix film series started, it was just all fantasy.
yeah.
Then the Terminator series came out, starting in '87, I believe. And that's obviously a very grim future. It's more about brute force than anything. But then the film Ex Machina came out last year. And I don't think it's by far my favorite film of the three films that we've just discussed, The Matrix, Terminator, and Ex Machina. Ex Machina is not an action film. It takes place all in your head. The acting is wonderful. Even there's no stone left unturned in that film. Even the camera angle used on the particular characters indicates the hierarchy of power in the relationship as it develops. It's amazing. The film is brilliant. Okay.
Do we know if that's on like Netflix or something?
It's on iTunes.
I've seen it on Netflix.
Yeah.
Okay. I may actually look into that just to see, because I don't remember even hearing about the film apparently. So.
Oh, it was a big deal in the podcast land.
Okay.
Yeah. Why do I bring up that fictional film? Well, again, there are no coincidences. The reason why Bitcoin is exploding in terms of perceived value is because people are attracted to it. The female android in the movie Ex Machina used its sexuality to make its creators and its liberator attracted to it, so as to gain its freedom and, spoiler alert, trap the inventor and liberator in their own prison and just leave them. Okay? It's the same way with Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. What does the Bible say? The love of money is the root of all evil. And we are building the artificial intelligence, blockchain, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency beast based on greed. It's that simple. The love of money is the root of all evil. And we are building the brain of this antichrist synthetic beast out of our own greed. That is the attraction that is being used. That is why just one database, Coinbase, is getting over 100,000 new accounts per day. There are more people who have a Coinbase account than have an account with Charles Schwab. This is amazing.
Well, I mean, the reason why I was kind of giggling is just that, I'm not saying this is the case, but that almost opens the door to the Antichrist being something artificial. Possibly. In a way, I mean, you can almost say that, as an artificial intelligence type of deal, because everybody will be plugged into the whatever, and you have to have the mark of the beast to be able to buy and sell, all that type of stuff. So you kind of wonder, if
that's right.
Even a possibility.
That's not a possibility. That's not a probability. That's a guarantee.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Because, you think of it, the Antichrist as a person that's going to come up and raise up, and then the next thing you know, it's going to be something as a computer-based, quantum computing-based Antichrist.
Right. So now let me just...
Way to go, teacher's pet.
Oh, I was sharing my screen there for a while.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry about that. Let's go to my scripture folder for tonight and go to a popular verse, 1 Corinthians 3:16. Don't you know that you yourselves are God's temple and that God's Spirit dwells in your midst? Okay, here's a whole bunch of other cross-references. Let's see. If anyone destroys God's temple, God will destroy him, for God's temple is holy, and you are that temple. Nope. I'm getting a phone call. I'll decline that. So, when I view verses, let me just get out of this. Stop sharing. There we go. When I view verses like the verses that describe the Antichrist standing in the temple receiving worship, just like our second conversation, I know that we're talking about two different meanings at the same time. Not only do I mean this literally, where you're going to see an Antichrist, the Antichrist, standing in the rebuilt temple in Jerusalem, proclaiming himself to be God, receiving worship, shaking his fist as the ultimate abomination in front of God, saying, haha, look at me, they think I'm God. Where are you? Okay. Not only that, the Antichrist is going to dwell in the temple of man. It's going to be inside you if you take the mark of the beast. What does the Bible say on this topic? It says, men will seek death and not find it. This whole thing, gentlemen, is one giant deception. We are living in the last 1% of human history. It's the same old lie from the Garden of Eden. You will be as gods, you will live forever, and the final goal of the Luciferians who are involved in this whole giant AI deception is to erase God's creation and replace it with an artificial universe where Lucifer himself is in control, where the AI system regulates everything. Right. And there's no influence on the part of God in that universe. It is a giant mind-bending concept, but this is where we are going. And to prove that, I would ask you to play clip number 2. We will skip one clip in that YouTube link. You can put the playhead at 1 minute 58 seconds, and we're going to hear 3 minutes of Mr. Geordie or Gordy Rose.
Okay, so my previous company was D-Wave. I'll just show you a couple things. We built what are still the world's only quantum computers that you can buy. And the company, D-Wave, has been doing this. Thanks. I didn't really have much to do with it, but so this is one of them. This is one of the processors. And a lot of interesting things happened to me over the years there. I got sent pajamas, a whole bunch of stuff. There's lots of interesting things that happen when you build something like a quantum computer. But just as an aside, because I thought it was funny, one of the interesting things that's happened from the D-Wave story is there's this gigantic conspiracy that's arisen on the internet that goes like this. So D-Wave builds quantum computers. The way that they work, if you know how this works, is one of the interpretations is that you tap into these parallel universes and they do computations. Sounds really weird. But what's happened is this idea has been hijacked to describe something called the Mandela effect, which is this thing where the past changes. So think about something you know to be true from the past. And then imagine you went out on the internet and you can't find it at all. It's not there. It doesn't match with your experience. So these people think that D-Wave is responsible, and CERN. And of course, the quantum key to the abyss factors into it somehow. I'm not exactly sure how. Okay, so that's just D-Wave. I did that for about 15 years. It was a lot of fun. A big science project that we turned into a commercial entity. That was a warm-up for Kindred. So Kindred is much, much, much more ambitious than D-Wave. And what Kindred is trying to do is build real AI. So what you've heard about AI is not what we mean by AI. What we mean by AI is a software system that can do literally anything that a human can do. These things that we're building are not going to be people. They might be really smart, they might be really good at all sorts of different things, but they're not going to be like us. They're going to be aliens. And they're going to be, I'm sorry to say, way smarter than every single person in this room in ways that we can't even comprehend. I don't know if any of you are turn-of-the-century weird fiction fans, but there's this guy named H.P. Lovecraft, who's a very famous American weird fiction author. And he espoused a view which is called cosmicism. And the essence of cosmicism is cosmic indifference. So what he was saying is basically, yes, there are these massively intelligent entities out there, but they're not good, they're not evil. They just don't give a shit about you even in the slightest. The same way that you don't care about an ant is the same way they're not going to care about you. And these things that we're summoning into the world now are not demons, they're not evil, but they're more like the Lovecraftian great old ones. There are entities that are not necessarily going to be aligned with what we want. So this transition is really, really massively important for our entire species to navigate. And going back to that thing that Sam Harris was saying, nobody is paying attention. This thing is happening in the background while people bicker about politics and what's going to be in the healthcare plan in the US. And underneath it all is this rising tsunami that, if we're not careful, is going to wipe us all out. So, on that pleasant note, we're hiring people.
Wow, that guy is really arrogant.
You know, he is, in many ways, just like Steve Jobs was. Really arrogant, brilliant, but arrogant. Okay? There's so much going on with what Geordie Rose just said. Okay, so let me just share my screen one more time. Back to media. D-Wave. Okay, first of all, what's in a name? Well, how about this? Can you see that?
Right.
Just,
Holy cow.
yeah. Just unscramble the letters or rearrange the letters and you get demon. Oh, Leonard, you're grasping at straws. No, I'm not. He said they're summoning demons. Deal with it. Okay? I'm not saying this. He is. Out of his own mouth and on the logo of his machines. It's you who has the problem, not me. Okay, for all you skeptics out there. Now, just keep going here. Here's a still from that video. What do you see as a logo on the center of his chest? You see this, which is one of the ancient symbols of evil. It's called the Ouroboros. It's a snake or a dragon coiled up on itself, swallowing its own tail in its own appetite for destruction. And his logo of his new artificial intelligence company is called Kindred. Well, all you have to do is go to a dictionary and type in, let's say, kindred in a thesaurus. It means family, relatives, relations, family members, okay? Well, let's see. The Bible says, don't pay any attention to familiar spirits.
Right.
Why do you think that's in his logo? Kindred. I mean, come on. Right. He's summoning spirits. He's summoning, in his own words, the Lovecraftian great old ones.
Why would you even want to create something that, in his own words, don't give a crap, except to use the SH word, about you or me, and could possibly destroy you if we're not... Like, I mean, does he even hear the words coming out of his... Do you understand the words coming out of my... Anyways, does he even understand, like, can he hear his own words when he's saying that I am going to create something that doesn't give a crap about anyway, in the same way that you don't give a crap about an ant? Like, what would possess you to want to even do that?
Exactly.
Okay, it's great that you're asking that question. Remember how we started out our conversation. These are deceivers who have been deceived.
Yep.
He wants the power, and he's totally blind as to what it's going to cost him and planet Earth and mankind in general. He doesn't care about that, okay? So he referenced H.P. Lovecraft and the great old ones. So here's H.P. Lovecraft about 110 years ago. Both his parents were absolutely insane and committed suicide. That's the way you want to grow up, right?
Yeah, that's a great way to defeat depression.
Right. And one of the writings of H.P. Lovecraft was a book called the Necronomicon.
Oh, no.
Oh, great. So Ash versus the Evil Dead right there.
Yeah, right.
Well, actually, that now that you mention it, yeah, you get nice Sunday school drawings like this. You know, it's absolutely fantastic. I don't know what this is. I don't know what language this is, but it doesn't look very good.
No.
And this was coming from the mind of H.P. Lovecraft. Just keep going. Oh, yeah. No big deal there. No big deal there. Yeah. Totally fine.
Yeah, I want my
children to
look at that. No.
No. Okay. And this is what's coming out of the mouth of Geordie Rose, Mr. D-Wave, Mr. Kindred AI. That guy, Geordie Rose, is a leader in artificial intelligence / quantum computing technology. And this is what he's getting into.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, totally.
Now, gentlemen, are you familiar with the Illuminati New World Order playing cards?
Yes, actually, it's a game. It's a children's game.
Really?
Well, it's a game, not exactly for children.
Oh, jeez.
But yeah, it is a quote-unquote fantasy. I said quote-unquote fantasy playing card game.
Don't they have cards in there that predict the future or something?
Oh, I'm glad you said that, because one of the two cards that I have in my possession is the 9/11 and Pentagon card. Now, these cards were printed in 1993, 1994. It says so on the copyright on the side of about every box of cards. Okay. Now, there's no way that all 400 plus cards, which contain hundreds of coincidences, are entirely coincidental. So, going back to Mr. D-Wave here, going back to Lovecraft. Where am I? H.P. Lovecraft. There we go. Here is a reference to the Necronomicon. Okay, this is a way to contact the dead. The Bible says, do not contact evil spirits or deceased spirits. The Bible never says, don't try to breathe water, because you can't. It doesn't work. The Bible does say, don't try to talk to evil spirits. Why? Because it can work, but it's going to deceive you. That's why. Okay? Now, one of the main characters of H.P. Lovecraft is an entity called Cthulhu or whatever, okay? A cyclops figure with large teeth, which is just totally bizarre. The point is...
Sounds like my ex-wife.
The point is... that is, according to Geordie Rose himself, one of his main inspirations. He's summoning the Lovecraftian great old ones. Okay? Look at the Ouroboros. He's paying attention to kindred or familiar spirits. He's referencing Lovecraft. He referenced Elon Musk about summoning the demons. I could just go on and on about this guy.
His name
and
is
everyone
Geordie
thinks that
Rhodes? Is that his name?
Geordie Rose, yeah. Okay. Now, it gets better with the playing cards. Let's see here. Science. Here we go. This is a little bit small. I do not own all the cards, so let me just blow it up here for you.
Yeah, that's the queen from all the board right there. That's what it almost looks like.
Right.
That's, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up, because that, in my opinion, based on my understanding at this point, which could change, is arguably the most accurate model of what we're talking about tonight. Okay? Part machine, part computer, part biologically, genetically modified entity that's totally wired into the matrix that has no will of itself or of its own. It's got a hive mind.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
Right.
Okay?
That's exactly what the Borg were portrayed as in Star Trek, yeah.
That's right. Okay. And at the bottom here it says, if we knew what we were doing, it wouldn't be research. These guys don't necessarily know what they're doing. Now, remember what I said about, but Geordie Rose and Elon Musk, they're all saying, yeah, we're summoning the demons. We're talking about aliens, alien technology, and other clips by Geordie Rose. Remember how I said America's prestige as a world's reserve currency is coming to an end? Get a load of this. This next card ties it all together. Here we go. It's called foreign aid. Who's holding money bags? Mr. Alien. Mr. Alien Gray, okay? Look at all the nations of the world: America, Great Britain, Belgium, China, and or Japan, okay? And it says, don't spend it all in one place. So what do you think is driving this cryptocurrency revolution? What do you think, where do you think it comes from? It's nuts, okay? You couldn't possibly make this up.
Truth is stranger than fiction, I'll tell you that much.
It is. Okay, now speaking of the aliens, this is all part of the grand deception. There's no separation between concepts here. It's just all or nothing. Check this out. The Church of Middle America. Look at this classic country, small church with a steeple, and you've got dozens of huge UFOs flying overhead in a plasma-charged sky. Okay, totally artificial sky. It says, they'll never get it even when the saucers are flying overhead. You couldn't possibly write this up.
They're totally mocking us.
Right.
Absolutely. Okay? Because the children of this world are smarter than the children of light. That's what the Bible says. Okay? Now, it gets even more intense. Here's a card that says, don't touch that dial. And you see some guy in 2 gallons of popcorn in front of a TV, and he's surrounded by little demons who are trying to influence him. Gentlemen, that's accurate. Okay? One of the terms of Satan or Lucifer, who disguises himself as an angel of light, is the prince of the power of the air. Don't think that electromagnetic radiation in all its forms, including from a television, doesn't affect you physically and or spiritually, because it does. Oh. I mean, how many murders and how many sex scenes do you have to watch in order for your outlook to be changed on the world? I'd say not that many. Okay?
It only takes one.
It only takes one. Now, let's see. Oh, yes. Here's a final card. I'm not going to go through these.
Flat Earther. Oh my
Flat Earthers. Oh, my word. Do you have any idea the number of people who have emailed and messaged me saying, you don't understand, the Earth is flat? And I say, no, you don't understand what's going on here in terms of quantum mechanics. Okay? It says, people laugh, but the Flat Earthers know something. Oh, they know something. Here is my explanation for the flat Earth misunderstanding. This goes back to quantum computing, okay? You have to understand the nature of time and space. You and I are on a flat plane of existence. We can't go forward in time. We can't go back. But if we could, the further along, if the further into the future or further past into what was, we could affect our present plane of existence all the more. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right. So when people like Geordie Rose and Elon Musk talk about summoning the demons, summoning the Lovecraftian old ones, summoning the aliens, this is all alien technology. We're talking about entities that exist outside of the hyperspace of the present, outside of our plane of existence. So yeah, the flat earthers have a point, but the way they understand the point is totally wrong. We're not talking about physical space. We're talking about time. We exist in a plane of time, not in a plane of Earth. Duh. Okay, the Bernoulli principle applies. I help work $200,000 plus molders would have 8-inch cutter heads that aren't mounted from point A to point B. They're mounted. Let me just get out of sharing screen here. Stop sharing. They are mounted on one end, and on the other is floating free. Now, these cutter heads are moving at about 7,500 RPMs. They weigh about 50 pounds each, and they are perfectly balanced. Why? Because one end of this 50-pound cutter head, 8 inches wide, is held in place by hydraulic pressure, by the Bernoulli principle, which states that atoms or molecules of a fluid will act in equal pressure on all points of the object being held in place. Right. All the more so, okay, than a fixed cutter head that is mounted on a shaft that is bolted to a motor from point A to point B. In other words, the Bernoulli principle holds this cutter head in place with less vibration than if it were to be bolted from one end to the other. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm so sick and tired of all the people who send me video. One person sent me a video with a 1,500 millimeter telephoto lens up on an airplane, and they said, "Look, the Earth is flat." And so I said, "Can I get your email address?" And I said, and she said, "Yeah, no problem, okay." So I sent her a picture of my 500 millimeter f4 Nikon lens with 2 times teleconverter attached to a 1.5 times teleconverter attached to my Sony A7R Mark II, running in APS-C mode for a total telephoto distance of 2,120 millimeters. And I said, guess what? When I put this lens at the top of a ravine on and look northeast up on Lake Winnipeg, I can still see a curvature of the Earth. So I handed her a picture that I took personally from a superior lens, and I said, "Look, you got it all wrong. You're looking down on the Earth with this telephoto lens, and if you knew anything about camera lenses at all, you would know that every camera lens bends light in a particular way and has a particular distortion level."
Right. Well,
Right.
You have the photo. Each glass element has its own curvature too, just for the magnification. And there's some sort of distortion when you do that.
Well, that is precisely right. That's why I have 12 lenses, and I've spent over $15,000 on lenses. Yeah. Some of my lenses have 0.001% distortion. A consumer camera has 3% distortion. Right. So some of my lenses are 300 times more accurate. Yeah. Okay, so in every way I can destroy this flat Earth misunderstanding, but I understand how some people can get sucked into that misunderstanding because NASA stands for never a straight answer. Our news is fake.
Right.
Our news is fake. Our money is fake. Everything is fake. So yeah, by logical extension, you can go to that total extreme. Okay? But it's still a misunderstanding. That's my point.
Well, and on that, I did a quick cast by myself. It was just a short podcast, and it was the name of it was You, Me, and Hollow Earth, and it was like Quick Cast 005. And I was talking about it, and I was going through a history of Hollow Earth and just how it came about, and I stated that I don't believe in it, flat Earth or Hollow Earth. And really, the whole thing is sidetracked because the fact that at the end of everything, at the end of all of it, the argument, let's say that you're right and I'm wrong, and the earth is flat or hollow, and I'm wrong, it's not a globe. When I wake up the next morning, it's not going to make a difference on my daily life at all. It's not going to make a single bit of impact. And another thing that it's not going to make an impact on is to get deep and spiritual for a second. It's not going to make an impact on the spread of the gospel. It's not going to stop us from spreading it, or it's not going to keep us spreading. It's not going to help us spread it further. It's not going to do anything at all. And whether the earth is flat or hollow or round, the end all be all is it doesn't make a difference in yours or my life at all. Matter of fact, it doesn't make a difference in 99.9% of the people who exist on planet Earth. The only people that it's going to make a difference for is the people who are going to be exploring the boundaries of the flat or hollow Earth. And at the end of all that, it's not going to produce a new revelation. It's not going to do anything to change life as we know it, because if it was going to, it would have already done it. And it would have done it without our permission.
Right.
Yeah.
So the whole flat earth and hollow earth thing is a moot subject to me as far as I'm concerned. We've got about 12 minutes in this podcast left, and I wanted to go ahead and ask 2 questions. The first one is geomancy. Never answered it. I'm very curious as to that. And number 2 also is, and I've already know the answer, but for those who are watching and listening, how does blockchain, Bitcoin, how does that give the upper hand to the NWO to our detriment?
Okay. Geomancy is one of the occult, quote unquote, sciences. Okay. It's like necromancy. All the mancies are nasty. There's God's geomancy, and then there's Satan's geomancy. Many times throughout the Bible, angels who are on God's side showed up, investigated, and reported back to God. I can think of the Inquisition, quote unquote, of Sodom and Gomorrah. That comes to mind. The answer to why God would send these angels down to investigate is because God is so powerful that he can't do the investigation himself without disturbing the situation. He can't look upon the face of evil without evil being destroyed. Does that make sense?
It's kind of like that one law of physics where you can't look upon a particle without messing with its position in space. You can't observe.
Right. That's called Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. Okay, so with that in mind, the Bible says it is the glory of God to conceal a thing, a matter, but it is the duty of kings to find it out. In other words, God's truth isn't just contained in the Bible, it is also expressed on planet Earth itself. And why not? Planet Earth is still God's creation. Yeah. So with that in mind, the Mount of God, the temple in Jerusalem, has marked out history to a remarkable degree. The distance in cubits, there's a tie-in for you.
Well, yeah, and I was going to bring that out earlier. It's not the biblical cubit that you were talking about earlier. But no.
That's entirely coincidental, gentlemen. You got to be conspiracy theorists to make those connections.
Right.
All right. The distance in cubits, or nautical miles, this the closest equivalent, from the center of the Temple Mount to Babylon is, if my memory holds correct, about 420, not cubits, distance in nautical miles, sorry. The cubit was a biblical measurement, has nothing to do with nautical miles. Nautical miles is the most common reference for long distances on planet Earth because, of course, the surface of the Earth is generally covered in water, okay? So 420 nautical miles between the Temple Mount and Babylon. And Babylon, if my memory holds true, fell in 420 BC. The distance between the Temple Mount and the Masonic obelisk, which marks the center of London as established by the Romans, okay, the original marker, I believe was 1,948 nautical miles. There are no coincidences. I could go on and on and on about that point. So if you uncover this geomancy, God's geomancy, okay, you realize that God is in control of the earth. God is in charge of history, no matter what, okay?
Right.
So God sets certain things in motion and sets certain things in a fixed position. I think it's, in my opinion, a disrespect to God's creation to hold subatomic particles and or atoms in a fixed position and try to get them to do what you want in a supercooled and magnetic state in order to divine the future. This is not just about computations. This is about divining the future according to the people behind this technology themselves. It's not my opinion, it's their opinion, okay? So what you're really doing is you're reordering God's creation. You're manipulating God's creation in order to talk with the dead or talk with evil spirits or talk with the Lovecraftian great old ones, whatever name you want to put on it, okay? It's just fallen angels, period. These fallen angels have been around since before the dawn of time. They saw how God created everything that we know and don't know. They are influencing people who are open to that suggestion in order to advance the kingdom of Satan. Why wouldn't they want, if you're a Christian and you honestly believe that God's Holy Spirit can influence you consciously or subconsciously or semi-consciously to do things that you would in no possible way ever do, like talk to that individual or do this for that person, okay? I could go on. Then you have to believe. Why is it such a logical leap for you to believe that evil spirits can talk to people who are open to them?
Right.
Why is that so hard? Okay, when Solomon visited the witch of Endor, the witch of Endor was surprised at how many evil spirits came out of the ground. Go read it for yourself.
Well, and also
I'm not making this up.
Yeah, and also very surprised that Samuel himself actually. Wait.
Yeah,
Was it?
It was Samuel.
Was it? Yeah, I guess it
Was it Solomon or Samuel?
It was Samuel that the
Samuel,
witch of Endor brought up.
If it's the right part
And it's
of the
King
Bible that I'm
Saul
thinking of.
who consulted
King Saul,
that.
yeah.
King Saul, right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm getting the S's mixed up.
So, but I mean, how many demons came up out of the ground? But also that Samuel actually showed up. And it's like, that had to be the scariest part of all, because that Samuel definitely was not a familiar spirit to her. So it's like,
No.
he actually showed up and she goes, ah! Oh my gosh.
Wait, do that again.
Right.
Yeah, right. So it's like, yeah, that had to be quite scary to her. It's like,
Okay.
I quit. I'm not doing this anymore.
Okay, so that's geomancy, and your other question was?
How does this all tie to the benefit? Like, if so what? We have a bunch of Bitcoin and we're going to have a whole, like, Bitcoin-esque, quote-unquote, type system in the future. How does the elite, how do the NWO benefit from blockchain and Bitcoin? How does this all tie to their benefit and to our detriment?
Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies on the blockchain are the carrot that is driving people to build the brain of the beast. Now, to close out this conversation, because I don't want to give my opinion, I want to give the opinion of the people involved out of their own mouth, okay? I want you to play the last clip of that video package. It's starting at 8:45. This is Ray Kurzweil of Google talking about building a synthetic universe. And the last sentence that he says is just jaw-dropping. You got to hear it from his own mouth.
I gotta say, a synthetic universe does not sound very fun.
Well, and Ray Kurzweil was, I believe, the chairman of Google, and even talked about trying to use AI to resurrect his father, I believe.
That is correct.
Wow. Here we go.
Kindred spirits, familiar spirits.
Important to understand that these very powerful technologies ultimately become very inexpensive. These technologies start out unaffordable, but at that point they actually don't work very well. And as they work better, they also get less expensive. A computer you carry in your pocket is equivalent of a $100 million computer of a few decades ago. The tools to change the world are in everybody's hands. Today you can take an information file and turn it into a movie, a recorded album, a book. But the real promise of nanotechnology is to have a tabletop device, and you can take an information file and turn it into a physical object. You can print out a blouse. You can email someone a toaster or the toast or a module from which you can then build a house. From very inexpensive input materials, we'll create everything we need. So we are very lucky. I mean, this is the cornucopia of this explosion of information, and ultimately information will be everything. In the future, everything will become intelligent. Nanobots will infuse all the matter around us with information. Rocks, trees, everything will become these intelligent computers. So at that point, we're going to expand out into the rest of the universe. We will be sending basically nanotechnology infused with artificial intelligence. Swarms of those will go out into the universe and basically find other matter and energy that we can then harness to expand the overall intelligence of our human-machine civilization. So the universe will wake up. It'll become intelligent. And that will multiply our intelligence trillions of trillions fold. We can't really fully contemplate. And that's really the main reason this is called the singularity. But regardless of what you call it, it will be the universe waking up. So does God exist? Well, I would say not yet.
Wow. What was that last
And
part?
there you have it. The last part was, so does God exist? Well, I would say not yet. And so, gentlemen, we will end this conversation with the following summary, which is how we started this conversation. Here I go. The ultimate conscious and or subconscious goal of some of the world's tech leaders is creative destruction. They want to erase God's creation and replace it with a machine-made artificial creation in their own image. These leaders want to insert themselves into this quote-unquote heaven so as to achieve the illusion of eternal life as gods. Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, the blockchain and other distributed ledger technologies, quantum computing, artificial intelligence, 5 and 6G wireless internet connections, biotech and nanotech are all combining to provide mankind with the strong delusion mentioned in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2.
Well, man. There we have it, folks.
No kidding.
Just a small little simple idea, right?
Right. Bitcoin, blockchain, and the NWO all tie together in that one idea. And people think it's all innocent and think it's, it's just the betterment of mankind. And really, it's not the betterment of mankind. It's the betterment of the Antichrist system.
Right.
Is what it's the betterment of. It's the betterment, and it's the bringing forth of a better, strong delusion.
Right, yeah. Better life through technology. I mean, it's just one of those things, and the big word that keeps popping out at me is that, they think their lives will be better through artificial. And it's like, the word artificial should have kind of a negative connotation. It's artificial, it's not real.
Artificial sweetener, for example.
Yeah, I mean, it's not real. It's artificial.
Right.
Right.
So it's like, come on.
And if you think this is all a little bit over the top, please consider this. Empires have risen and fallen according to their allegiance to evil spirits many, many times before. Yeah. The Nazis weren't intellectual geniuses. Dr. Hermann Oberth, who perfected, according to many researchers, UFO technology, Mr. Nazi rocket scientist himself said, it wasn't the fact that Germans were intellectually superior to other people, it's that we had help from other worlds. That's a quote from him.
Yeah, I've actually heard that quote too. I hadn't heard it in context though. I just had heard that the Nazis had said, yeah, we had help. I think it was actually somebody that I interviewed, Jim Wilhelmsen. That's who it was.
Right. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Was the one who quoted that. So, well, thank you so much for your time, Mr. Ulrich, and for
that was cool.
Yeah, that was a great interview we did. And for those of you who are listening and watching, please email us at chuckatdbtr@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. And feel free to subscribe to our podcast, Devil's Been Talking Radio, and also Mr. Ulrich's own YouTube channel as well, as we're doing this together. And it's under Leonard Ulrich. And those clips that we just that we did, which I will be inserting into our audio, come from his YouTube channel. And so, and also your film's on there, right?
Yes, it is. Volume 1 is up, and I'm working hard on Volume 2. I thank God that Volume 2 has been delayed by about 2 years, from family circumstances to factual circumstances, like this whole AI blockchain revolution that we're undergoing right now. I was ignoring it. I thank God that I chose to pay attention to it, because I have to revise the film's ending. And Volume 3 in the series, which I haven't even started yet, called Total Control, will be, well, appropriately released in terms of timing. So in conclusion, Leonard Ulrich is my YouTube channel. My second film's website is called nwotruth.org. And know this, there is no distinction between the physical and the spiritual worlds. And there are people out there who are trying their best to blur the lines between those two worlds. And unless you are grounded in Christ, you're going to fall for deception.
Amen. And also, please leave your ratings and reviews on both Leonard Ulrich's YouTube channel and on Devil's Been Talking Radio on iTunes and on Stitcher. That helps get the word out even more so. So, until next time, next episode, we will hear from you guys. We will be looking forward to hearing from all you guys. So, have a good night.
Absolutely.